Oh wow, welcome back again. Today, we are gonna reminisce about the greatness of the movie, Big Driver, from 2014. Please be warned upfront, spoilers ahead, because seriously, does anyone even care about this movie? In the opening scene, we are introduced to this lady named Tess Thorne, chit-chatting on the phone with a friend. Tess is supposedly a famous novelist. Yeah, she wrote mystery thriller novels, or so they say. And today, Tess has a fan meetup she has to go to at the library. Imagine that. Tess gets ready in a hurry and sets off for the library. Sets the library location on her car GPS, and just drives, and drives, and drives, a long and winding road trip, after which Tess finally arrives at the library. Heart probably racing with anxiety from the tiring parking job, parks the car and gets out. She's greeted by Ramona, this really nice and supposedly caring library owner, with a big smile. Ramona, bless her heart, is embodying the spirit of community gathered for the special occasion, or rather, the spirit of setting a trap. She personally invited Tess to share her profound journey and words of wisdom with the eager audience inside. Tess takes a deep breath, feeling oh so happy and grateful, walking through the library doors. The atmosphere inside is buzzing with excitement. Some faces from her readership, the fans, light up as soon as they spot her. As she stands before them, ready to deliver her oh so important speech, she feels like she's drowning in their support and admiration. These are not just fans, oh no, they are individuals whose lives have been touched by her amazing stories, and their immense love for her books fuels her passion even more. In that moment, Tess realizes she is exactly where she is meant to be, sharing her pearls of wisdom with those who truly appreciate them. The meeting comes to a close, and as Tessa's getting ready to leave, Ramona approaches her with a smile. Bless her again. I have a shortcut that will get you home much quicker, she offers, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm, or something like that. Grateful for the tip that would save her an hour, Tess feels a wave of relief wash over her, feeling all saintly and good about it. She settles into her car, eager to begin the journey ahead. Inputting Ramona's suggested route into her GPS, she sets off with renewed excitement. As she drove, Tess felt a joyful anticipation building within her, confident that she would soon be home, oh so confidently. After a grueling drive, a stray piece of wood suddenly gets lodged beneath Tess' tire, forcing her to come to an abrupt stop. Stepping out to assess the situation, she's just thrilled to discover that the wood has punctured her tire, stranded at an old dilapidated gas station that looks like it's been abandoned for years. Tess finds herself isolated on a desolate and dangerous road, with no one around to lend a hand. However will she manage? She knows how difficult it would be to find another vehicle on this empty highway. She's facing the daunting task of changing her tire herself. Poor thing. She stops on the side of the road. Tess is standing there, just waiting for a vehicle to arrive. Then she notices a bus approaching, and signals it to halt with her hand, but the bus, wouldn't you know it, just drives away. After a while, Tessa notices another vehicle approaching, and signals it to halt with her hand. Fortunately, this car actually stops. Tess quickly approaches the driver, begging for help, and he readily agrees to help her. His name was Lester. As he begins changing the tire on her vehicle, Tessa feels a sense of relief wash over her, convinced that she would soon be on her way home, all smiles and sunshine. However, her relief soon turns to dread when she notices the same pieces of wood with protruding nails in Lester's car. Oh no, a cold shock grips her heart, leaving her feeling so vulnerable and exposed. As she stood there, a sinking realization dawns upon her. Lester is watching her with a predatory gaze as he works on the tire. His demeanor has shifted since he first offered help. It was clear that his intentions had darkened upon realizing she was alone. Before Tess could process her unease, Lester suddenly closes the distance between them and starts brutally punching her in the face. The blow sends Tess crashing to the ground, rendering her immediately unconscious. He forcibly places her in his car and drives her to a remote, desolate location. When Tess regains consciousness, she's just delighted to find Lester assaulting her in the most brutal manner. Desperation fills her as she cries out for help, pleading with him to stop, but his cruelty knows no bounds. He continues his attack, deriving joy from her suffering, of course. As Tess loses consciousness from the relentless assault, he callously hoists her over his shoulder and carries her deep into the heart of the forest. There, he callously discards her like a broken doll, leaving her for dead. How thoughtful. Lester drags her limp form to an even more isolated spot before abandoning her there and fleeing into the shadows. After Lester departs, we see Tess slowly regain consciousness, struggling to rise. She sinks back down into the chilling water, her body battered and broken. Though she is alive, thankfully, her condition is dire. Oh, the drama. She can barely stand. As she glances beside her, a wave of horror washes over her. How unexpected. She discovers the lifeless bodies of other girls, victims of Lester's brutal assaults, discarded like trash after their lives were violently taken. In that moment of despair, because what else could she feel? A flicker of determination ignites within Tess. Summoning every ounce of strength she has, she begins to wobble towards safety, each step a testament to her will to survive. Because drama. Overwhelmed by shock from the horrific ordeal she has just endured, uncertainty grips her mind. Fear courses through her veins as she staggers along the road, acutely aware of the danger that lurks around her. Boo! When she spots a car approaching from behind, panic sets in, naturally. Instinctively she seeks refuge, hiding in the shadows to evade detection, her trust in humanity shattered by the trauma she has experienced. How sad. After a long and arduous journey, full of suspense and near-death experiences, Tess finally stumbles upon a small shop where she can finally freshen up, because priorities. Desperate to share her harrowing experience with someone, anyone, she tries to call her friend, but the call goes unanswered, because plot convenience. Frustrated, yet determined, as always, she manages to reach her home. The first thing she does upon entering is retrieve her gun, because of course, carefully loading it with bullets to defend herself against Lester, who now possesses her bag and address, leaving her vulnerable to his potential return. Oh, the peril. The trauma of the horrific encounter weighs heavily on Tess, rendering her too shaken to seek medical attention for her injuries, because going to a doctor is just too much, isn't it? Instead, she retreats into the safety of her home, seeking solace and isolation as she grapples with the aftermath of the nightmarish ordeal, all alone, sob. As time went by, Tess' physical wounds began to mend, miraculously, but the scars of her trauma ran much deeper. Boo-hoo. Fueled by a burning desire for vengeance against Lester, she steels herself for the confrontation ahead, determined to teach him a lesson he would never forget, because that's what heroines do, right? Just as she was plotting her next move, like a super spy, a call came through, informing her that her car was ready for pickup, but needed to be retrieved before the police intervened. Oh, the urgency. Upon her arrival at the impound lot, because that's where cars go, she encountered an elderly woman who, of course, noticed Tess' injuries and inquired about what had happened. As Tessa recounted the harrowing details of her encounter with Lester, the woman shared her own, wait for it, painful history, how her stepfather had brutally tortured and abused her, even gouging out her eye in a fit of rage. How convenient. With a somber tone, she cautioned Tess about the dangers of hurtless men, surprise surprise, urging her to remain vigilant and strong in a world that often overlooks the suffering of women. Poor us. Tess eventually gets into her car, finally, and drives home. After returning home, she checks her computer, because of course, and discovers that Ramona had taken her photo in the library and had asked her to take the shortcut home. Tess wonders why Ramona was continuously pressing her to take that route. What could it be? She concludes, Sherlock Holmes style, that Ramona set a trap for her, done, and purposefully sent her via the shortcut so that Lester could catch Tessa and assault her. Mind blown. In a shocking twist, you could see it coming from a mile away. Tess learns that Lester is actually Ramona's son. Bam. Fueled by a mix of betrayal and rage, after confirming this revelation, along with the fact that Ramona had sent Lester Tessa's photo via email. How convenient is that? Tess grabs her gun, because what else would she do, and storms toward Ramona's home, intent on seeking retribution. Finally some action. When Ramona opens the door, her eyes widen in terror at the sight of Tess alive and standing before her, gun aimed directly at her. Dramatic gasp. Overcome with fear, Ramona collapses into a pleading stance, hands clasped together as she cries out, insisting she was innocent of any wrongdoing. Yeah, right. But Tess' heart is hardened. Duh. She is deaf to Ramona's desperate cries. She is not listening. Just as Tessa prepares to pull the trigger, because drama, Ramona seizes the moment, of course, lunging at Tessa and wresting the gun away from her. In a desperate struggle for survival, Tess quickly regains her composure. How strong, and counters Ramona's attack, overpowering her in a fierce confrontation. Girl power. In a final act of self-defense, Tess takes back the gun, miraculously, and fires, resulting in Ramona's tragic demise. Finally some peace and quiet. After the harrowing act of taking a life, because killing is messy, Tessa wipes the blood from her face, hands trembling, as she stares at a photo of Lester with his younger sibling. Oh, their smiles frozen in time. How poignant. The weight of her action hangs heavy in the air. Cue dramatic music. Suddenly, she spots Lester, gasp, his hand bandaged. How observant of her. Driving away, of course. Consumed by a mix of desperation and determination. Yup. Tessa follows him to a desolate, haunting location that seems to echo her inner turmoil, so deep. Upon arriving, she jumps out of the car, quick thinking, and begins to scour the area for Lester, but he is nowhere to be found. Boo-hoo. Anxiety mounts as she searches frantically, because why not run around in an empty place? Her heart racing, naturally. Just then, she notices a truck approaching in the distance. Predictable. Instinctively, she hides. Genius. Convinced that Lester is behind the wheel, because everyone drives trucks in the forest. As the vehicle comes to a halt, adrenaline surges through her veins. Go girl. And she steps forward, ever so bravely, her finger tightening on the trigger, as she fires a shot aimed at his head. Bam. But as the figure tumbles out of the truck, oh no, Tessa's heart sinks, because things never go as planned, do they? It isn't Lester at all. The realization crashes over her like a wave. Cue dramatic wave crashing sound, as she kneels beside the fallen man. Dun. Lester's brother, the sibling from the photo she had clutched moments earlier. The brother, overwhelmed by grief and regret, because she shot the wrong guy, Tessa's cries pierce the silence of the abandoned landscape. How tragic. As she grapples with the irreversible consequences of her actions. Oops. Then she heads to the empty house, because why not just walk into a serial killer's house? When she looks with a torch, because it's dark, her eyes pop out. Surprise. Because there were several images on the walls of Lester and his brother raping girls, and then being presented they were mercilessly killing the girls. Shocker. Tessa discovers that these two brothers and their mother work together to catch females, assault them and kill them, or family bonding time. Then, Tessa recalls, aha moment, that while Lester was assaulting her, her brother was photographing them, because of course, got to document everything. Then Tessa hears strange sounds, maybe Lester doing his chores. When she goes to investigate, because curiosity kills the cat, she sees Lester, who is busy working. What a hard worker. Tessa now gets a gun in her hand, like a boss, carefully moves towards Lester like a hungry lioness. Rather, in order to hunt the scoundrel, go get him girl. Tessa could have blasted Lester's head off from a distance, because snipping is too easy, but she chose to kill him by displaying her face. Dramatic entrance. Lester turns around to see Tessa pointing a gun at him. Surprise again. Lester is likewise surprised to see Tessa alive. You don't say. Believing that he had killed her. Silly Lester. As soon as Lester steps in to kill Tessa, because villains never learn, she begins shooting at him. Bam bam bam. Even after being shot, because he's a super villain, the creature attempts to assault Tessa. What persistence. Tessa then picks up a wooden stick with nails, handy, and smacks Lester in the head. Crack. Lester begins to scream in anguish as the nails penetrate his face. Ouch. Then he attempts to flee by climbing aboard a vehicle to save his life, but he is unable to do so because he is half dead. Serves him right. Then Tessa approaches him, because she's not done yet, and shoots him on his manhood. Bam. Killing him instantly. Oh, the symbolism. Tess' revenge is complete. Finally, now that Lester has died. Yay. And the movie ends. Thank goodness. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more recaps. Have a nice day.